What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Atlantic Files, the number one podcast on the number one division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network, joined by your host, myself, Alex Fishbein. We got big, sexy Dennis Clausen. Mike, still not here. Someday.
Is he alive anymore?
I get little like feeler texts every here and now, and then I'm like, all right, he's still kicking.
Because he kind of went dark on me after I shit stopped him in our fantasy football football. I got football on the brain after after the trouncing I gave him in the semifinals in our fantasy basketball league.
Oh yeah, it was a foregone conclusion. We all knew who was gonna win that.
But then I was rolling with. Did you see Dwight Howard last night? I put Dwight Howard in. I thought he was going to get the extra bump with LeBron out, and
didn't quite work out.
Didn't quite work out.
I used Dwight Howard in one of my games too, and he did not give me anything.
Yeah, didn't do a goddamn thing.
What's up, Ross? Glad to see you join the show, man. And of course, we couldn't do a show without Tyler.
Yes.
What's up, Tyler? What's up, guys? What's up? I instantly lost in the consolation bracket because that was the time Julius Randle decided, hey, I'm just not going to play this week. So
yeah, he's been doing that for a while now.
Yep. So he sat out and didn't play all week. And then also Jared Allen broke his finger, so I literally had no centers left. So my centers were Me Too and Dwight Howard.
Dwight Howard is complete garbage at this point.
Oh, he is. He's useless.
But it wasn't his fault though. They put him on the bench, for a big portion of that, but my man's Drew Eubanks stepped up too, playing hot out of Portland. If they don't do something to keep that guy, that's the way he's been playing.
Drew Eubanks has been great for them.
He got me 58 fucking points.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, I was like, Drew Eubanks. He outscored Trae Young.
I remember seeing that. He also outscored Luka Doncic, didn't he?
No. Luka. I played Luka. What's today? Fucking Wednesday, Monday. Was he playing last night, Luka?
Oh, I meant last week.
Oh, last week. Yeah, Eubanks outscored a lot of people.
Yeah, that's
But I had insane. What is today? Wednesday?
Today's Wednesday, yeah.
So Luka played last night?
Yes.
When did they play the Lakers? Last night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's when he went off, and I played him last night. God, I don't even know what day it is.
I wish it was like Friday. That'd be nice.
No such luck.
Before we get into basketball,
and Tuesdays suck too because they always put like 5 games on NBA on Tuesdays.
Oh, I know.
And then Wednesday they put like 12, 11 games, and then Thursday you're back to like 4, and then Friday they just load up.
Yep. That's the thing that sucks about, like, I'm in an ESPN fantasy basketball league where you just throw people in all week and get all their points. But, like, your whole team plays on Wednesday, so then you have to decide 2-3 guys you want to bench that, like, aren't going to get you any points for that day. And then the next day you only have 2 people playing out of your whole 12-man team. It's like, all right, come on, let's distribute the games a little better here.
Right. It sucks.
But I just want to say, before we get into actual basketball talk and everything, I made a banging dinner tonight. I made some... I cooked up some bread-crusted tilapia with some coleslaw and baked potato strips.
Totally lost me at tilapia.
You don't like it?
No, it's not my favorite.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I know I eat a lot of tilapia because I'm yoked out of my mind.
Exactly. That's why I thought.
No, I'm not a big tilapia guy.
Okay.
I thought you were going to come at me with something good.
Maybe someday. Tyler asked, "Who's more useless, Dwight Howard or DeAndre Jordan?"
Flip a coin.
Pretty much the same amount of useless, which is exactly zero use. And Mike says you got so lucky.
You know, the guy can't show up to do the show, but he has no problem commenting.
I know, right?
Fucking idiot. Get
He could have just
lost.
been on here to say that in the first place.
Yeah. Get lost.
So, let's talk
Moron.
about this. Last night, the Utah Jazz lose to the Clippers. Paul George comes back, has a great game. They blow like a 10-point, 12-point lead, whatever it was. It might have been even bigger than that. And the Clippers win. Paul George gets like 36 points or so. They talk to Donovan Mitchell after the game, and they're like, what's going on here? What's happening? And Donovan Mitchell literally just can't really speak other than he just says, I don't know. It's the same exact shit as last season. I don't know. The only players that say that are ones that are fed up with their situation and they want out of there.
Well, it's not the same shit as last season because the Jazz were in first place last season.
They got the first seed out of the entire league last season.
Right, so it's not the same shit as last season. But if we can remember what I was saying last week, I was talking about Donovan Mitchell. Where was it last week? I don't know. But recently, we were talking about Donovan Mitchell, and I said, did I not? It's only a matter of time before the Donovan Mitchell to the Knicks rumors start going down. Oh, and guess who's unhappy in New York right now? Who's been changing by himself, all alone in the dressing room? Guess who gets a lot of money? And the contracts would probably match up pretty well if you add a couple things. So I feel like things are starting to get in motion here. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. So the Julius Randle, Donovan Mitchell rumors are going to start, especially when the Jazz, they lose in the playoffs. So here we go. Buckle up, because you're going to hear about this for a while now.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, Donovan Mitchell to the Knicks feels like it's been a rumor for like a season or two already. So now combine that with, like you said, Julius Randle being unhappy, him being rumored to asking for a trade and doing all this stuff by himself and not really doing anything with the team anymore. And that is probably the easiest and biggest recipe for a ton of rumors for a guy to go to a team.
And honestly, though, if the Jazz traded Julius or Donovan Mitchell for Julius Randle, whoever was the leading voice to orchestrate that type of deal should be fired immediately.
Yes. Right, like the moment the ink dries on the deal for that trade, they should be fired.
If they could telepathically connect with a person who's even thinking about doing it, they should fire him immediately.
Especially like because you think about the fit of a Julius Randle on Utah, automatically it's a no. Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert next to each other?
Can you think that dynamic duo, that dynamic scoring threat of Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle? Lights out.
The offense it would be.
The tide has just changed in the Western Conference if that happened. Good Lord.
Watch out for a starting five of Mike Conley, Bogdanovich,
Royce O'Neal,
Julius Randle,
sliding over to the three,
and Rudy
Julius
Gobert.
At the four. Oh man, lights out.
That reminds me of the Sixers trying to do the whole Al Horford and Joel Embiid thing.
Yeah, it ain't gonna work.
Not at all.
But here's the.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm starting to. But here's the thing, right? So this goes back to how I hate that NBA players have all this leverage, right?
Right.
I'm gonna have a mental breakdown. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna do whatever I can to get my way out of this contract, even though he had no problem signing a huge contract, not too long ago.
Oh yeah.
But now all of a sudden, because he's unhappy, acting, guys don't, you don't do that, all right? You just shut up and you make your team better.
Exactly.
All right, if your team sucks, then you make it better.
And I mean, especially with Julius Randle, last season we saw what happens if he's fully invested.
Well, he got his money now. He don't care.
Yeah. But, yeah. I mean, the moment he got that payday, it literally looked like he did not care one bit. And that's exactly why the Knicks are where they are right now.
That's like me losing 5 pounds, and then I lose 5 pounds, and I'm like, okay. And then I just start eating a bunch of shit.
That
you know
5
what
pounds
I mean?
is good.
Yeah, 5 pounds is good. I lost weight, so
Yeah.
I'm just going to eat a bunch of shit. Like Little Debbie, double stacked oatmeal pies.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking bologna sandwiches. DiGiorno's, rising crust, stuffed cheese, pizza.
Oh, I haven't had DiGiorno in a while.
Anything I get my hands on. That's the equivalent of that.
I mean, because we even saw last season, Julius Randle was one of those guys that was like diving after loose balls. He was the heart of New York. Like, Knicks fans were all in on Julius Randle. Julius Randle was getting like looked at for like MVP and all sorts of different awards and all that kind of stuff. And now it, like we just said, it literally looks like he does not give a fuck.
He was like Mike Piazza after 9/11. He was getting that type of, the guy couldn't even walk down the street without them going, hey.
Stopped him in his tracks, Mike.
The guy couldn't even walk down the street without somebody saying, hey, I'll buy you a pretzel off a shopping cart. You know what I mean? That's the kind of clout that Julius Randle. Now nobody wants anything to do with him.
Exactly. Like, Julius Randle was getting more hype in New York than the Nets were with the super team that they had. Like,
yeah.
It was insane. But yeah,
and now you look at the Knicks fans in the Garden, man. They're like, I have to be here because I bought a ticket.
Yep.
You know,
it looks exactly like it did right before last season.
They look like the people who go to like family reunions and they're just miserable, but they have to be there.
Oh yeah. I mean,
I don't want to fucking be here, but I have to be.
That's essentially what being a Knicks fan has been like for the last like 20 years.
But last year, man, it looked like things were turning around.
I know. But then Trae Young came in, was a super villain, and then crumbled the entire Knicks franchise again.
That's right.
I mean...
but this shit started, too, with, when Donovan Mitchell made his Big Apple tour here a couple weeks ago, last week, or whatever the fuck it was, and he was all... giddy. He's in New York. He's from Terrytown or wherever the fuck he's from. And he's got all these New York roots. And everybody was like, yeah, Donovan looks great here. And he's thinking about that. He's like, I hate Utah. It's cold. It's nothing to do. Can't get a decent slice of pizza to save your life.
What is Utah known for other than Mormons?
I have no idea.
That's a legitimate question.
They don't even have jazz. They don't even have jazz in Utah.
Exactly. They stole the name from New Orleans.
When you think of Utah, you say Mormon.
Exactly.
You think anything else?
No.
Besides it's in the middle of nowhere?
I only think Mormon and Salt Lake. That's it.
Yeah, but it's a lake. Like There's a million lakes.
Exactly. I legitimately, like, this isn't even to be funny or like to make fun of Utah residents.
I'm making fun of Utah. I am.
You are, but I legitimately have no idea what is in Utah and what like
is there a dish?
There's got to be something.
Local cuisine.
Yeah, the only thing I know about Utah, other than they have a basketball team, is they have a soccer team, and for some reason there's a version of Real Housewives in Salt Lake City.
What? Why? For one, how do you even know that?
Because my girlfriend watches Real Housewives of New Jersey, so there's commercials all the time.
Mm, well, I mean, you, you're a pretty nice looking girl there, so I would have no problem with watching whatever the hell she's watching.
I mean, I get into it sometimes.
Know what I mean? Of course you do.
It's pretty hard not to watch sometimes when they're like fighting each other.
Yeah, it's all staged. So
Oh yeah,
It's Will Smith, Chris Rock,
yeah, that's true.
which I will go on record now and say that's staged.
I
I'm not buying it.
So I agree. I used to agree because when the whole thing played out, I was like, all right, there's no way that like that just happened out of nowhere.
Wait, isn't Scientology in Utah?
Oh, is it?
Maybe we just made the connection.
We might have. Let's see. Is Scientology in Utah? Church of Scientology, Salt Lake City. It's been there since 1990.
See? It's made a connection.
There it is. But so I agreed with that at one point, but then the fact that Chris Rock, either he's that good of an actor or Chris Rock was legitimately like blown away, speechless, because to me it legitimately looked like he had no idea what to say after all of that happened.
That's true, but then people were like, Will, look, man. And I'm like, have you ever watched Fresh Prince and seen that guy act?
I mean, he's a great
When his
actor.
dad walked out on him,
Mm-hmm.
it's the same look he gave him.
Oh, that episode when he hugs Uncle Phil because his dad doesn't want him.
Right.
Whew, tears every time.
Heartbreaker.
Yeah. But anyway, Mike said you're by far the weirdest person he's ever met.
Come on the show then.
Say that to his face.
Yeah. Pussy. You won't. I'll Chris Rock you too.
But
Bitch.
with Donovan Mitchell, it's like
You don't want the smoke.
oh no, Mike never wants to smoke. With Donovan Mitchell, it's just like, why are you just realizing now that Utah isn't great? Like, I understand you got the first seed last season and this and that, but they were like, I think last year they were the most doubted one seed I've ever seen before. Like,
They were a pretty good team.
they were, but nobody had them going even to the Western Conference Finals, let alone the finals. When like everyone's making their predictions and all that kind of stuff, nobody had them even in the Western Conference Finals, and that's a number one seed. Usually, that's not the case.
Well, it's easy to be good. It's a lot easier to be better in the regular season now with guys sitting out all the time and guys hurt a lot, and it's easier to be good in the regular season than it is to be good in the playoffs. So,
I mean, that's true.
You know, I can, but I mean, when you look at Utah. I mean, Donovan Mitchell can carry a team by himself. Immediately, if you put him on the Knicks, they're immediately in the playoffs. Like,
Oh yeah.
maybe even like a top 4 team, just from him being there.
I mean,
And
you remove Randall and you say there's like a starting five of whatever point guard, like let's just say it's Derrick Rose healthy, and then Donovan Mitchell, R.J. Barrett, and then what? Obi Toppin, and then Mitchell Robinson.
who Obi Toppin's been playing really well when Randall was out. So,
Yeah.
and it's nice to see at least Tibbs giving some of the younger guys some run to see what they have. You know what I mean? We don't need to see Taj Gibson.
No.
Fuck, we need to see him for Noel. Like, who cares?
Taj needs to take a page out of Udonis Haslem's book and just sit on the very end of the bench, be the like veteran tough guy and not play.
I smell a segue.
I mean, there's a couple segues I can make out of this.
Yeah.
But now that you bring it up, sure. Let's segue it here. So, Udonis Haslem, Jimmy Butler, and Spo all get in a fight.
Yep.
We saw on the bench that Haslem was just yelling at Butler that he was gonna beat the shit out of him.
Yep.
Butler tells Haslem that, or was it the other way around? No, Haslem told Butler at one point that he would never have made it in Haslem's era of basketball. Spoelstra flips out, throws his clipboard, and then gets into an argument with Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat in general go on a pretty bad streak of games for the last 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, they're 4-6 over the last 10.
Yeah.
Which I'm not going to say it, but also when I was saying I don't trust the Heat.
It's easy to not trust them, especially when you got guys that are hurt all the time.
Everybody was like, "Oh, the Heat."
Oh no, I agree. I agree.
Deep throating the Heat, and now I never bought it.
Mike was one of them.
Well, Mike likes deep throating. That's why, so it makes sense.
Exactly.
But I loved it. I love every second of it. You know what? Too, Spoelstra's at the point where he's like, you know what? I may have taken that shit from LeBron, but goddamn it, I've been in this league a long time. I'm not the video guy that I was. I'm one of the best head coaches in the league, and fuck you, Jimmy Butler.
Exactly.
That's what, and I loved it. I love Erik Spoelstra now after that.
Oh yeah, I Spoelstra. I've always respected Spoelstra just because of his work ethic to get to where he is now. And did he maybe ride some coattails when LeBron and all them were there? Sure. But he at least proved himself afterwards. And on top of that, it's I'm glad somebody's yelling back and arguing back with Jimmy Butler, because who is Jimmy Butler to force the hand of all these teams? What has Jimmy Butler done? What has he won?
Well, I could tell you Frank Vogel's not riding LeBron's coattails by any means.
I mean, he rode his coattails to a couple more years in his job.
Nah, he's done after. He's the dickhead, too, who sat Dwight Howard out.
Oh, yeah.
But I digress. So, yeah, I just love when in all these videos that were, when we first got the first video, okay, it was just, you couldn't really tell what was going on. And then we got a better video of Spoelstra saying, "What, you want to fight me?" Yeah. That's badass.
Oh, I know. I would have loved to be there just to hear it and see it in person rather than on video.
Oh yeah, and then too, the thing is though, it's Jimmy Butler knew once Haslem got up, he didn't want none of that smoke. I can tell you that.
Definitely not.
And it's easy for Spoelstra to be a tough guy when you got Haslem behind you. You know what I mean?
True.
And he had fucking Morris with him too. So you got two dudes right there.
Not many people messing with you with that.
No, hell no. and Haslem was sticking right up for him too. And I loved every second of that, dude, because it's about time somebody put Jimmy Butler in his place.
Right. And that's what I mean.
The guy's an asshole.
If Jimmy Butler was on the same level as, say, a Kevin Durant, that's one thing. You got the right to talk your shit at that point because you got MVPs, you got rings, you got Finals MVPs, whatever it may be. Jimmy Butler doesn't have any of that. He has a couple All-Stars and he has a couple All NBAs, maybe second or third team or something. But that's about it. His teams didn't really go anywhere.
See, Jimmy Butler, he could get away with that shit a couple of years ago when he was a better player. But and I think I've said that before too, he's at the point now where he's more trouble than what he's worth. The guy's hurt all the time. He's a cancer in any locker room he goes to. I don't care what anybody says. Some of his former teammates have come to defend him and blah, blah, blah. Everywhere this guy has gone, Chicago, Minnesota, Philadelphia, Miami, just complete asshole everywhere he goes. So it wouldn't surprise me either if this was the beginning of the end of Jimmy Butler in Miami.
Yeah. I mean this is how the cycle has gone for him. And like at Minnesota he had like it was one thing to do this kind of stuff in Minnesota because
It's Minnesota.
it's Minnesota.
Nobody cares.
He took Minnesota to the playoffs for the first time in like 20 years and they didn't go back the next few seasons. This season is going to be the first time they finally go back to the playoffs. But everywhere else he did it, like Chicago, they had a pretty good situation there without him too. The only reason like Butler was even in that equation was because Derrick Rose had that terrible injury and the team kind of derailed. And then in Philly, that was a pretty stacked team. I mean, that team in Philly with Butler was much better than the team that the Sixers have been ever since.
And I will say, Ben Simmons looks a lot better, now that Butler's having issues in Miami now.
True.
So, I mean, the big thing that you always bring up is the Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler friction.
That's true.
Maybe Ben Simmons not such a bad guy after all.
I mean,
can't shoot a goddamn free throw, but
maybe someday. Tyler even said he probably would have had a championship with the Sixers if he stayed.
Come on, Tyler.
I mean, it's definitely a possibility. That was the best. Like I said, that was the best Sixers team they've had in a long time.
But they didn't get the job done.
No, they lost to the Kawhi quadruple rim bounce shot, and that's that. But even then, as Jimmy Butler, forcing your way out of a team like that where you literally were a couple bounces on a rim away from, going to overtime, possibly going to the Eastern Conference Finals, possibly going even more than that, and then going to Miami, not doing much down there either, now having all sorts of friction down there, I'm not sure what his end game is because it's definitely not winning a championship like that.
He's in that Ron Artest territory, that where he's just now going to be a pain in the ass, and now he's going to start to just people are going to want it. I mean, the guy's hurt constantly.
Yeah,
you can't build a team around him.
That playoffs in the bubble was probably the worst thing for Miami because it fed into Jimmy Butler's ego that he got Miami to the finals in the bubble because they haven't even come close since.
Well, it made the fans too start to think that Miami was this. Yeah, Miami's great. They're a great team. No, they're not.
Yeah,
they're not good.
The only guy on that team that I would ever want on like a team that I was running is Bam.
Yeah.
Even Tyler Hero, I'm like, I can find guys that do the same thing.
Right. I pull Kyle Korver out of retirement.
Yeah.
Just sit there. Shoot. That's it. You don't need to run around. Just shoot.
Exactly. And it's the same thing with like Duncan Robinson, Strus, those guys. Like people do that in every team.
Right. Not that hard.
Yeah, exactly. So, the team's not great in this. Like you said, I think this is just the beginning of the end. Not only for Jimmy Butler, but for the whole team because it's just going to crumble from there. Like because the other people on the team that are the well-established guys, they're not known to act like this or play like this, so they're probably going to crumble just as much because they're not used to this whole volatile chemistry. Like Kyle Lowry, he was all sunshine and rainbows in Toronto. He was like DeMar DeRozan's best friend, and then when Kawhi came in, he was even friends with Kawhi, and like he was buddy with all of his guys, and I mean he was still like a hard-nosed competitor, but it wasn't like, oh, let me go fight people with my giant ego and get into fights with the third string and the first string and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Kyle Lowry don't give a fuck anymore either.
Yeah. He got his ring.
Yeah, he don't care.
Yeah.
Much more than he could say about his mans, though.
DeRozan?
Jimmy Butler.
Oh, Butler. Yeah. I mean, at this point, Butler is what he is. So let's go back real quick. I was talking about how Donovan Mitchell lost to the Clippers. Paul George is back.
Oh,
Does that change the West at all? Does it change anything? Does it maybe get
the
someone a
the
first round exit
Clippers
that might not have?
the Clippers were 15-12 with Paul George this season.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put a book over our boner and stop thinking that the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is back in Los Angeles,
I mean, but
because he ain't.
do you think though
He ain't.
seeing Paul George back is gonna
No,
make Kawhi want to come back?
he ain't coming back.
I mean, there's been some rumblings about it.
No, rumblings. For what? Well, what's he going to come back for?
He's been working out. He's been able to do some on court activities.
No, he ain't coming back. What do you? For one, you're just gonna bring him right back and just throw him right on the floor?
I mean,
Yeah, I mean that's a guy right there who's a superstar. You're going to jeopardize your future to bring him back for a championship you're probably not going to win this year?
I mean, it is the Clippers, so I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, yeah, I totally get that.
I could see them doing it, but I think if it was me, no, I'd rather not. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think the Clippers are at a point now though where they, they're in eighth place in the Western Conference.
Mm.
I mean, what better? Who are you going to beat this? Say they match up with the Suns or the Grizzlies, even with Kawhi on the floor, they're not going to win.
I mean, I could see them beating Memphis.
You got to stop sleeping on Memphis just because they're young.
No, I'm just saying if Kawhi was on the floor, I could see them beating Memphis. If Kawhi's not on the floor, they're not beating Memphis.
Yeah, but Kawhi's not going to come back and play 36 minutes.
True, but if he can if he can give anywhere between 25 to 28, that's huge.
Yeah, but then you got the chemistry you got to build up with all these guys. Sorry, but Kawhi's not coming back this year, and even if he is, it's not going to make a difference.
So say Kawhi doesn't come back, Clippers lose, blah blah blah, whatever. Do they run it back with this same team with Kawhi and Paul George, or do they start making moves next season?
No, I'll give it one more chance. They didn't really get to see, that they never really got the full Kawhi, Paul George experience in Los Angeles. So I think maybe try it one more time, and then if shit doesn't work, time to go.
I got you. I mean, because from the team we've seen without those two, they got some pretty good depth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oh yeah.
So
and it's not that it's not really Kawhi is only an issue because he's hurt a lot.
True.
Paul George is more so that he can't play as well as he used to.
Right. And I still don't see Paul George as the number one guy on a championship team.
I mean, he used to be a number one guy, but
right,
those days are over.
Yeah. And it sucks for him when he was at that number one player level that he had to run into the Heat with LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh.
Well, I'm sorry, but a lot of people ran into that problem.
No, that's true. But for him, that sucks. Sticking with the Clippers,
sucks for a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
Sucks. People got to go to work. Life sucks.
I agree with that one.
Yeah, I know you do.
Anyone who has to go to the office, look, I feel for all of you guys because I hate it. I'd rather work from home for the rest of my life.
I don't know. I might get lonely.
I mean, I got my dog here. I got TV here. I got everything here.
So basically, you have your dog and your TV, and you're fine.
Yeah.
Which is, you know what? You're on to something.
But yeah, sticking with the Clippers.
But the thing is, I like my chair, right?
Uh-huh.
I love my chair.
Mm-hmm.
The minute I leave my house, actually, right now, at this moment, I'm thinking about my chair after work tomorrow. So I just love my chair. I just want to sit in my chair all day long. If I was at work and sitting in my chair or at a desk in the same building as my chair,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to devalue my chair.
I get it.
You know what I mean? Like when I go to work, because believe it or not, we're not big time NBA, people yet. I know,
We're not full-time podcasters.
we've gotten a lot of national, offers there, but when I go to work, I'm like, God, I can't wait to just leave this place and go home to my chair. When I'm at home, I'm going to be like, I can't wait to go leave my chair to go to my chair. You know what I mean?
Understandable. It's definitely like when you work from home, you have to have separate rooms. I'll sit in here, which is like my office, and then I'm like, oh, can't wait to like go downstairs and play some video games, or like go downstairs and watch some TV. And like,
I'd be ordering Domino's and shit every day for lunch.
I mean, that's definitely how it started when I was working from home in the beginning. By the way, Mike says to trade him Saquon. And Tyler said you love chairs.
I do, Tyler. I love my chair.
Is it like a lazy boy?
Yeah, it's got electric. It's electric, so it goes. All you got to do is just hold the button, and it lifts, and it's got a neck thing that goes, reclines to keep your head at the optimal position.
Okay.
It's got 2 cup holders on the sides, and it's
got 2 cup holders.
It's got 2 places on the side you can store items, like a remote and an Xbox controller and an extra sandwich.
And a Boston cream pie.
Yeah, anything you want to throw in there, you can pretty much throw it in there.
No, that sounds nice. I need one
of
those. But anyway, basketball talk again. Tyronn Lue said Harden and Embiid wouldn't even be top 10 scoring guys without free throws. Pretty much talks about how like the Sixers are pretty much nothing if those guys don't get free throws.
Well, I mean, he's right about Harden because Harden hasn't been getting free throws, and look at how well that's worked out for him.
It's definitely. I mean, I was about to say like he's half right because Harden without free throws has not looked good at all.
No.
And then Daryl Morey responded to that on Twitter and talked about how
he hates China. Is that what he said?
He should have. He talked about how even without free throws in that game against the Clippers, the Sixers still would have won by like 10 or something or whatever it was. And then Lou was just like, oh, should he even be tweeting? Remember what happened last time? So Lou had a good comeback. But
coming from the guy that wears a mask.
Yeah, no. That whole thing about the Harden and Embiid free throws,
should be wearing a pocket
he was just
protector.
Salty. Yes. I mean,
dork.
He should just full on embrace the dork.
He needs a Spoelstra moment too, because LeBron used to bitch him out all the time too.
All the time.
Yep.
He looked like he was like LeBron's son. Wasn't there one where like he tried to make a sub and LeBron was just like, no.
No, I'm good. Like he ran he needs a Spoelstra moment, where he's like, you know what, fuck you, I'm not taking this anymore.
Exactly. He needs something. Because, I mean, not only did he play in the NBA, but he's been coaching now for a while. He does
I don't know how.
He does have a ring, right? Didn't he get the ring in Cleveland? He was the coach for that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, he needs to be like, guys, I've been around the league for a while.
Yeah, but that's another example of coattails.
Yeah.
If you're a coach and you win a ring with LeBron, did you really win a ring? It's like Phil Jackson. You won with Michael Jordan. Congratulations. I could have coached that team and won.
I mean, he did win with the Lakers too, though.
You had Kobe and Shaq. So, I mean, yeah.
Was there any coach as blessed with teams as Phil Jackson?
Nope.
Because you can't even say, to me, you can't say that, like, Popovich was blessed with great teams because he is part of what made those teams great.
Yeah, he had some good players.
No, he had great players. Like he had David Robinson and Tim Duncan. But the rest of the
Ginobili, Tony
players,
P.
I know, but
Kawhi.
Ginobili and Tony Parker are two guys that got
No,
even better
we're
because
calling
of him.
Tony P because it sounds cooler.
Tony P.
Yeah.
But they got even better because of him.
Reminds me of pizza because every pizza place I think is named Tony's.
There's a cheesesteak place in Philly called Tony Luke's.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a great food establishment, if you're Tony's.
Yeah. If you're a guy named Tony, you probably own a food place.
Yeah, something.
Somewhere.
And you sweat a lot.
Yeah.
Making pizzas.
And you talk like, hey, how you doing?
I love going into those pizza shops though, where they're just fucking sweating.
Oh yeah,
white shirt is also shit all over it. They're just making pies. It's the best.
And they're like, what order are you? I gotta check.
Yeah. What do you want? Like, I ordered a pie. Yeah,
what else do you think
number?
I want? I came here for food.
What's your phone number? I mean, you don't want my name. You just rather have my phone number.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? And they're just so pissed off about it. But that's great, though.
Oh yeah, they still make great food, even though they're always pissed all the time.
Yeah, it's like, hey, but you're like scared to ask for a drink. You're like, hey, I forgot to get a 2-liter. Can I throw that on there? You know.
And it's almost always too late. They're like, now I gotta do another bill.
Yeah, Ma, get out of here! You want the 2-liter? So yeah, no, James Harden though, like he's half right because James Harden can't play this year. Ever since they changed the rules, he's not getting the line. He can't shoot anymore, at least consistently. Joel Embiid has a sick pump fake from behind the 3-point line.
I'm still amazed.
I can't
how
believe
many
people fall for that.
Exactly, I'm amazed at how many people fall for that. It's the slowest pump fake ever.
But I don't know, it's like graceful though because he puts a big pump into it, like he commits to it.
Like he brings it all the way up here.
But people fall for it. But I'm sitting on my chair and I'm like, he's pump fake. I go, he's got a pump fake.
Oh yeah.
Sure enough, pump fake.
If there's somebody closing out on him on the 3-point line, it's 95% a pump fake. Like, I watch it every time. I'm like, all right, this guy's closing out pretty fast. He's going to pump fake.
I think I saw a pump fake one time from half court and somebody fell for it.
I saw him one time, like, pump fake, dribble into the lane, the same exact pump fake, and the guy fell for it both times. I'm like, come on.
I tell you, though, the one thing that's really impressive about, like, Embiid and Jokic is normally the centers will just run down to the other end. These guys are bringing the fucking ball up.
Oh, I know.
I'm like, you got Joel Embiid bringing the ball up.
And
he does a really good job at it.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, I'm always used to the centers who do, like, if a center does bring a ball up, it's usually super slow, and then they get it stolen from them, or they steal the pass, whatever. because they don't know how to, like, not stare down the guy they're passing, so it's almost always stolen.
It's like Andre Drummond bringing the ball up. You're like, get that out of his hands immediately.
Exactly. Like, I've watched Andre Drummond try a behind-the-back pass from the lane to the corner, and it goes 50 feet out of bounds. I'm like, why did you even try that? Like, even you knew that wasn't going to work out well.
And here comes Bull with the, bringing the ball up, holding up a 1. He's running plays.
Exactly. But with Embiid and Jokic, my favorite thing is the fact that they're so slow. Like, they're just dribbling and they're coming up and they're just like looking like they're moving in slow motion, but it works every time. Like, even when Embiid goes coast to coast and does like a Euro step and a spin move, the 2 steps he takes for that Euro step are like the slowest steps in the world, and it still works every time.
I love watching the photos of like Jokic when he was a big fat kid.
Oh yeah.
He's like, all I do is eat McDonald's and play video games. Like, it's just amazing.
He's
awesome.
He's the inspiration for fat people everywhere.
He really is, man. I know.
Mike says Jokic greater than Embiid.
It's the smartest thing Mike has said all day.
Dumbest thing Mike said all day.
I love
Mike,
he has time to comment. He just can't come on the show.
I know. He said somewhere earlier he said this. He preps his returns while he's listening.
Oh, okay. Prep this.
All right, Mike. Now we know that the reason you're not on is because you're drunk.
Right.
With this comment, we know you've been doing drugs, and that's why you're not
His Adderall wore off.
And he picked up the wrong pill bottle.
Good thing he's not on a show because he'd be falling asleep by now.
So
it's probably like all our listeners are doing now.
True.
Like, fuck these guys.
Because we go from basketball to the most random things in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So, Brooklyn. Great time to be a Brooklyn Nets fan right now.
Not
Kyrie,
really.
I mean, it's better than before.
Barely.
Kyrie is finally back for home games.
Who cares?
They finally lifted the mandate. Wait, you're not the huge Kyrie fan anymore?
They were having trouble with the Pistons last night, for fuck's sake.
You guys learned from Boston that when you play the Pistons 15 times, you have to struggle.
Bad things happen.
But so, I mean, this is what almost all Brooklyn Nets fans have been waiting for him to finally play home games. Is this going to bring what you want it to bring, or do you not see it happening this year?
I don't see it happening, ever.
Do you agree with Tyler?
No. No, just the thing is, like, I don't know. It makes me wish Harden was around so I could see, like, it together, like, for just one time to see how everything worked out.
Yeah, I mean, it was a total of, 16 games that they played together?
Yeah, I would have liked to see how...
1.5 seasons.
I think if all three of those guys would have been together, things would be much different. And now we got, Simmons is around, and Simmons is going to be great for, to add much needed defense and rebounding. Their transition defense is horrendous. Mm-hmm. And getting Ben Simmons is certainly going to help out in a lot of areas, except offensively, that we're aware of, at least right now. So it would have been nice to see like Harden and Irving and Durant all on the same floor, at least for the rest of this season. It obviously didn't work out. So I don't know. It's just, it still doesn't convince me that, I mean, for one, they might not even make the actual playoffs if they lose a play-in game.
True.
So, like, how am I going to get excited right now?
I mean, the only thing they have going for them is the fact that Toronto's been a little shaky. Cleveland's been shaky, especially with Jared Allen out. They have like the third worst defense in the league ever since Jared Allen went out with his injury.
Right.
And Mobley's hurt now too, so that's another one. Chicago's been up and down a lot. Miami's been sinking. So, I mean, they could get up to escape the play-in game if everything falls right.
Well, it'd be nice if they just made it out of that situation. But you're not gonna do anything if you're struggling for a little bit against Detroit. If you're losing to the Hornets, like, you're not gonna do anything. Like, yeah, so I'm not convinced that the Nets are gonna do anything.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I saw some rumors about Brooklyn thinking about offering Ben Simmons for De'Aaron Fox now.
That trade could have happened. Philly could have just made that trade.
Right. I mean, that was one of the rumors, is Philly doing that.
Right.
So,
I mean, I'm okay with that.
Right.
I
Although
think.
I will
No,
say,
I'm not. I'm not.
I
I'd
will
rather
say,
take Sabonis.
but I don't know if that would really work out that well. Who would be point guard then?
Kyrie.
I mean, who would distribute the ball?
You don't need to. It's Kyrie.
Okay.
All I know though is when Kyrie has the ball, like the guy's amazing. He can dribble. He's got like the best handles ever.
Oh yeah.
He could be a top 5 player easily. Like he could be at Kevin Durant level. The only reason he's not is because he's just a pain in the ass.
True. I mean, yeah. Mike says Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown's not playing point guard. He'll play everything else but point guard. This is another comment how we know you're drunk. Nick Claxton can barely play center, let alone run the point.
Yeah, Nick Claxton ain't. I've never been a Nick Claxton guy. Mike is. I'm not.
Mike's a huge Nick Claxton
Loves
guy.
him. Rock hard every time he talks about him.
Every time he sees him on TV.
Loves him.
Yep. I was gonna say something there, but I'm gonna keep it more PG.
Well, then text it to me. I'll say it.
But no. I mean, De'Aaron Fox would be pretty cool on the team, but I feel like De'Aaron Fox and Kyrie kind of play a similar type of combo guard where they're not the distributing guys. Like De'Aaron Fox gets people involved, yes, but he's not the kind of guy to me that like can really like he's not a a Chris Paul type. He's not like even like a Rondo type to really get a whole team involved. Like Fox is looking for his own buckets first before he starts thinking about
He's trying
the
to
rest
get
of the
his.
team. Yeah. Which is the same exact thing Kyrie
He's trying
does.
to get mines,
Which is the same exact thing Kevin Durant does.
Yeah,
like
but Kyrie's actually like really good at it.
Oh yeah, exactly. And the reason Harden would have fit with the two of them is because Harden is actually a pretty good distributor. He's a pretty good assist man.
And I mean, he's a triple-double guy.
Yeah.
Of course he is.
So like he fits there. Like Ben Simmons in that offense fits there because Ben Simmons is a good distributor. He's a good playmaker. So bringing in a guy like De'Aaron Fox, the only worry for me is he's not as good of a playmaker or distributor. And then you got two point guard shooting guards that are just looking for their own buckets.
See, I think Harden would have been better if there was that threat where Kyrie was bringing the ball up and everybody thinks Kyrie's going to score, and then Harden was like shooting from 3, which he can do. You know what I mean? Like that type of situation would have been better.
Yep, I agree. Speaking of Brooklyn, though, they asked Andre Drummond about being in Brooklyn, and he was just kind of like, "Well, I'm not going to be here after the end of the season."
See, I've heard conflicting reports on that.
Well, he said it in a press conference or whatever.
And then I've seen that he's said otherwise that he would love to stay in. I mean, yeah, I mean anything could be possible, but we're talking about a guy who's playing for peanuts right now.
Right. I mean, he's definitely going to want money because he has shown that he is serviceable.
Yeah, I mean he's not Detroit Andre Drummond.
Right.
But
he's a rotational center that a lot of people could use.
Well, I think he's still got some starting years left in him. Yeah, as evident from being in Brooklyn. He's averaging a double-double in Brooklyn.
This is true.
He made some pretty crucial free throws against Detroit, his old team, last night. They were doing hack of Drummond. That didn't work out too well because he made all of his free throws.
He's actually improved a lot with his free throws.
Probably the best rebounder in the league. And yeah, so he has plenty of life left in him. He's only 28. He's been in the league a long time, but he's definitely has a couple more years left in him.
He's even improved a good bit in the defensive end. He used to be a revolving door on defense.
Yeah, I mean, mostly his game is predicated around I figured I'd use our word from last week.
There it is.
Getting rebounds and getting rebounds.
Yeah.
Basically, it's it.
Putbacks, defensive rebounds. I
And
mean,
he's really good at that.
yeah. He's at the big thing that's different now compared to like the last couple seasons and being on the Lakers when he wasn't playing is he's playing his role and sticking to it rather than trying to go back to Detroit Drummond.
Yeah, he fits in really well in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I like him better in Brooklyn than in Philly.
I mean, he was a tremendous backup for Philly.
Yeah, but I think he's like more consistent.
Yeah, I think he is more consistent for Brooklyn right now because I mean he knows how much playing time he's gonna get. He knows he's gonna get in the game. Whereas like for Philly, he doesn't know like he didn't know how much exactly he's gonna play. Like he didn't know what Embiid is feeling like that day. If Embiid's going off that day, he's gonna get less playing time. If he's not, he'll play more, blah blah blah. So it's definitely more of a concrete situation than it was in Philly. But what do you think about Tyler? He says, would it be a disappointing season if the Nets don't make it out of the play-in?
Absolutely. I think it would be a disappointment if they don't make the Eastern Conference Finals. Because even now, still, they the ceiling is so high and the expectations are so high for the Nets right now. Everybody's doing it still. Kyrie's back, and look out, they're going to make a run, and you don't want to play them in the first round. And I'm like, bro, they can't even fucking hang with Detroit.
Yep.
Even with that's pretty much their full squad. I don't want to hear the Ben Simmons thing because he's, he hasn't even played with them yet.
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't played all season, so it is what it is when it comes
so
to
this
that.
is the Brooklyn Nets that you're going to get.
Yep.
And I don't even think Ben Simmons is going to be around this season.
Probably.
Joe Harris wasn't much of a factor during the playoffs last year. I mean, so this is the Brooklyn Nets that are going to be the playoff team, and I'm not really convinced that. Even though the way the Bucks play, though, I'm not really convinced though that the Bucks are as untouchable as they may seem in the standings. You know what I mean? So anything is possible, but I think they need to at least win the Eastern Conference for this not to be a disappointment.
Yeah. I mean, they at
Tyler.
they at the very least need to make the Eastern Conference Finals, let alone win the East. So if they, like you said, if they don't make the Eastern Conference Finals, then I think it's extremely disappointing, especially with how much hype they came into the season with.
They're still getting hype.
I know.
Like ridiculous. I'm like, what is everybody getting so excited for?
I mean, the moment Kyrie was able to play home games, people were ready to say, all right, championship winners right there. Even though you still have the Phoenix Suns, who look like the most dominant team in the league.
As soon as they said Kyrie was ready to play, everybody grabbed their Jergens and a box of tissues, and everybody was just going nuts. And I'm like, let's slow the roll here a little bit.
That's what I was going to say, what Mike does when he sees Nick Claxton on TV.
Grabs the Jergens.
And the tissues, yeah.
Yeah. Mike looks like a tube sock guy, though, under the bed.
Old baseball socks.
Yeah. Mike has had a couple crusty socks under his bed over the years.
Oh, he definitely has. I can see it. I can see it. For our last topic of the night, we go to Boston. Mike Scott, the Time Lord, is hurt. He's out for, I think it was like 4 to 6 weeks.
He tore his meniscus. I don't know, how the fuck do people say he's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks?
I mean, I think that's the same thing Embiid did, and he came back in the playoffs. So I think that's why. But
yeah, but we're talking about Joel Embiid versus Robert Williams.
True. There's a bit of a difference there.
Like, as much as I think Robert Williams is a fantastic player, and he's huge loss for the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
Especially too this season. He's like really stepped it up, averaging a double double nearly,
Yep.
and so get block shots. He's a playing more than I even expected. I'm surprised it took this long for him to tear his meniscus.
I mean, yeah, with the way he plays.
Are you gonna order a pizza?
No, I was looking up, so I can share this here, actually. I was looking up some stats here with the Celtics without the Time Lord. So throughout his career, they are 74 and 54 without Robert Williams. They put up a good amount of points. They've been putting up 112 points per game. Again, this is not just this season. This is his whole career. But we can see they're 7-8 this season without Robert Williams, and a couple of those wins are against some pretty easy teams, such as the Lakers, Oklahoma City, Orlando, the Pelicans. They did beat the Sixers without him. Oklahoma City. So the only good wins they have without Robert Williams would be the Sixers and Toronto.
And who did they lose to?
They lost to
Atlanta.
Washington, Atlanta, Brooklyn, San Antonio, the Sixers,
And
Charlotte.
that's a problem.
Lost to Detroit
Well, I mean,
because they play Detroit 50,000 times.
yeah, 68 times a year.
So that means the Celtics record with him this season is 40 and 21. And for his whole career, they're 106 and 68. They're scoring the same amount of points, but probably giving up less points. It's only showing what they scored instead of.
I mean, the Celtics can't afford to be without him because they're not a very deep team as it is.
No.
And, they have, Horford's back tonight and Daniel Tice. And, luckily they got him when they did. And, they might be calling Ennis Freedom to come back and play because they're, just. But they're going to need guys like Peyton Pritchard and Grant Williams. They're going to need those guys to step up now.
Oh yeah.
And
They're going to
Peyton Pritchard
need a
can
lot
get
of
it
people
go.
to step up.
Yeah, but that's going to hurt them a lot.
Yeah.
But anybody who says that he's going to come back, no.
Yeah.
I mean, this season. I'm not talking. He's not dead, but he's
Right.
not gonna come back this season.
I mean, I especially wouldn't rush him back because
No.
he's still young. I mean, he still has plenty of career ahead of him.
But my whole thing, if any time I talk, anybody ever says anything about Robert Williams, I always say injuries.
True.
Because the same shit happened to him last season with the foot.
Yeah.
And now it's
I
this.
mean, he had that whole bad rap when he came into the league about being late and being lazy and sleeping through his alarms. At least
I
he got
sleep through my alarms.
True, but
Alarms.
He had a problem.
I mean, I'm tired.
I agree. I sleep through my alarm. I set 4 alarms for every time I got to get up because I need that many to wake up. But
Right.
But no, I mean, at least he matured, and then the injuries hit, like you said. So that's the biggest thing with him. But the thing in his favor is he's only 24 years old. So
Yeah, but you shouldn't be breaking down that much at 24.
that's true. That's the issue is that, yeah, you're getting those injuries and you're still only 24.
Yeah, I mean, if he was 36, I would be like, okay, he's 36.
Right.
He's 24.
Yeah. But so, in terms of the impact that his injury has,
Huge.
Tremendous. I don't
Huge.
see I don't see the Celtics going nearly as far as everyone was hyping
Well,
them
you
up to
remember
go.
everybody a couple weeks ago, they've been stroking it about the Celtics.
Oh, they still are because now they got the 1 seed the other day because they were in the 11th seed in the beginning of the season. So yeah, they're still stroking them.
Well, put the tissues away because it's gonna be a rough go here coming for the. People are gonna see just how impactful Robert Williams is.
Oh yeah,
So,
Put,
and I don't
put the
trust Al
socks
Horford
away.
to stay healthy yet. Put the socks away. Get out of your incognito mode.
Did you hear about the lawsuit Google is in about that?
Mm.
They apparently were still tracking people that were in incognito mode, and they're like, there's a like $5 billion lawsuit.
I might have to join that. You too. Mike, certainly.
Definitely Mike. Of all people.
Oh, yeah.
We know you don't just use that computer for taxes, Mike.
Right. I mean, I was always under the assumption that you were being tracked regardless.
I mean, I was too, because I don't trust anything on the internet anymore. So I feel like a tin hat kind of guy right now, but it's true.
Well, I mean, but this is why they're like, you need to hide your address or whatever those programs are.
Yeah.
They're watching you.
I mean, you can be tracked in 5,000 different ways, and people just don't know about it because they don't care to read about it. Like all those cookie things that pop up when you go to websites, and it's like, oh, accept this cookie and accept that cookie. Like, I just had a couple. I just had a couple before starting to record. So
I want some cookies.
But on that note,
yeah, it's like, you know, those pizza videos where the pizza delivery guy shows up and the girl answers. She's like, I don't have any money to pay for my pizza.
Which are you watching these videos in incognito mode?
Yes. Because they don't end as innocent as they start. If you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah, I got you. Do you then order Domino's after that because there was a pizza guy in it?
Well, I'm not ordering for the pizza guy.
I mean, I know that much.
I mean, I do want sausage, but not that kind.
You got your own at that point.
Yeah. But in the videos, there's usually some sausage flying around.
True.
You know what I mean?
True. On that note,
I ain't looking for that sausage.
That is it for us. Unless you have anything else to get off your chest.
The sausage at Domino's is pretty fucking good now.
It is. Do you get the sliced Italian sausage or the...
I've gotten both.
I have too. That's why I ask.
You should look like me. I'm surprised you don't. But then I laughed at you. I said, because you got like a half of you got a medium, and you only ate 4 slices. I'm like, what kind of amateur bullshit is this?
Sometimes I'm not as hungry as other times. It's just, I don't know what else to say.
It's all a mindset.
True. But that is it for us. Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening to another episode of The Atlantic Files, the #1 podcast and the #1 division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. Tyler says, as we're signing off, that we should have a food segment. We probably should, to be honest.
I mean, isn't it like at various times throughout the episode is food segments?
Yeah, you'll get different food segments throughout the whole thing, depending on what happens. So
right.
But if
Thanks,
you're watching,
Tyler.
yes, thank you again, Tyler, for tuning in. Because as we said last week, we cannot have a show if you're
without Tyler. Yeah.
So you got to be there. If you're watching on YouTube, please drop a like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications because we go live every week and the schedule changes every week. So make sure you do that. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, everywhere you get your podcasts, please subscribe, rate, review, and just share it with one friend. Share it with some friends, because why not? Because, you know, we got to share the whole food segment here. You got to let your friends know that we know food so that they can learn and eat some good food.
Right.
As well as some basketball.
Mike knows especially about sausage.
Exactly. Mike can direct you to the good sausage.
Mm-hmm. He knows.
But that's it for us. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching, and we'll catch you guys next week. Peace.